What's going on, everybody? Welcome back, finally, to another episode of Chalk Talk, the series where we take real football concepts and apply them to our favorite video games. I just want to quickly thank you for your patience in waiting for me to finally get my computer fixed. It took much longer than I anticipated, but we are finally back here to go ahead and diagram some more concepts for you. And this one has been on the docket for a while. It's been very heavily requested. It is talking about cover 6 and cover 9. Now, this is a coverage that we already actually know a little bit about. So we're going to start by taking a look here at this fantastic diagram. These diagrams that I have, you've seen probably a couple other ones, are from the Honest NFL on Twitter. I'm going to make sure to link his page in the description. He has some of the best free content that there is on the internet, in my opinion. And he's actually given me permission to use his graphics and images in my videos. So I'm going to be using plenty of these. They're very, very detailed. And I think it gives a good explanation of some of these concepts we're going to be talking about here, specifically talking about cover 6 and cover 9. So let's start the very basic top-down level. What is cover 6? What is cover 9? Well, they are independent split safety coverages. So what that means, right, we draw our line right down the middle of the field, and the coverage is going to operate independently on each side of the field. On the right side here, we're playing quarters, right? And if you've watched a quarters chalk talk, you already know the rules of quarters, right? Everything here looks very familiar to us, right? So we're not going to be spending much time talking about the quarters side of things because we already know how that works. All the rules apply. There's a couple of things that I want to talk about regarding that, but we're going to spend most of our time over here on this side where we're playing cover 2. And it's not just any type of cover 2, it is cover 2 match. This is something that actually is in the game if you call cover 6 and cover 9. You can't get cover 2 match any other way, unfortunately. But we do have it here if you run this coverage. So we're going to be talking a lot about cover 2 match here with the help, as always, of the past coverage glossary, which is linked in the description as well to go ahead and check that out. Buy it on Amazon, get it on your Kindle. It's really, really cheap and it's a fantastic resource for you. So cover 2 match is already a little bit familiar to us also because if you watch the cover 4 palms video, you know that palms is simply quarters unless number 2 here releases out fast to the flat, in which case the corner is going to drive on it. Well, we're just doing that as default now. There is no if-then statement of it's quarters unless something happens. Here, we're running cover 2, right? So we're going to start with the corner. He is going to be aligned with his eyes looking at number 2 here. And if 2 releases out to the flat, he's going to drive on it, right? And the way that this is described here, right, in the graphic, is the ball brings you to the flat, right? They don't drive on the route until the ball is actually thrown. Now, this is where cover 2 match is very particular, and everyone teaches it a little bit differently. In fact, in the past coverage glossary, in the general description of the coverage, it's actually got a quote from Nick Saban saying that after 40 years, I'm still trying to figure out how to play cover 2. So the rules aren't really hard and fast. In the graphic here, the ball brings you to the flat. In the way that past coverage glossary describes it and that Madden and CFB use it, the route brings you to the flat. But it's similar idea. You're reading number 2. If he goes out to the flat, we're going to go ahead and drive on it. Our weak side apex is playing the vert hook. So he's going to be man-to-man on number 2, pretty much unless 2 goes to the flat. If 2 goes to the flat and he does that fast release out here, then we know the corner is going to drive on it, and instead the apex is going to get depth and shadow or rob number 1 underneath. So he's going to go ahead and do that. So he's got a very simple responsibility. Unless 2 goes out, we're man-to-man on 2, right? And the deep safety, he's going to try and kind of straddle the difference, right? The general idea is his priority is 1, right? So if we get 4 verticals, right, the safety's going to prioritize getting out here further to cover number 1 instead of straddling the middle, right? But say if, we get something like a smash concept, right, then obviously the safety is going to be responsible for taking number 2 vertical instead because there's no threat from number 1. Now, we do have a little bit of responsibility to talk about with the hook defender. Now, I mentioned that the hook defender is technically a part of the cover 4 side of this. So you wouldn't think he's a part of the general distribution of the route. However, it depends on where number 3 goes. And this is what we're talking about here with number 3 awareness is crucial. If 3 releases to the quarters side, then the hook defender is going to be a part of the quarters distribution, and then he'll have his push call, and he'll do everything there with quarters. But if he releases to the cover 2 side, then the hook defender is now a part of the cover 2, right? But to keep it nice and simple for you, the hook defender, he is responsible for number 3 in pretty much any situation where the corner here or the apex wouldn't take him. Now, we'll talk about this. This isn't perfectly put into Madden, but I'm honestly going to give EA the benefit of the doubt here. I'm all for telling EA that they've messed up and they don't have concepts in here correctly. But with how many different ways there is to play cover 2, I can't definitively say that they are 100% wrong. But enough of this. We're going to go ahead and hop into the actual gameplay here. Now, I switched over to Madden here. I haven't been playing CFB that much. I've been playing a lot more Madden. And you're going to go ahead. We're going to see this here going against all go, right? So we're going to get all 4 receivers running down the field. If you watch the coverage ID video, you already can see here. Here's our cover 4 side with the corner a little bit further off. And then here's our cover 2 side because we have the squat corner here about 5 yards off the ball. So really we want to pay attention to this side of the field here because that's our cover 2 side. One thing you're going to notice as the receiver goes down the field, we're going to see the corner actually play this with a little bit of underneath leverage. He's going to let the receiver get past him, and you see how he's keeping his eyes inside looking at number 2. Now I believe once we get about 10 yards down the field, yep, the eyes turn. And now we're running with underneath leverage. The safety, in game, he straddles 1 and 2 a lot more than definitively getting out to cover number 1. So that's something that you definitely have to think about. But we get a very good distribution here of the vertical routes. And then you see our hook defender is responsible for the back, right? Back didn't do anything crazy. He's just running a sit route after a check release. So we go ahead and pick that up, no problem. But yeah, I've been playing a lot more Madden than CFB as of late. So we went ahead, this is what I had installed. The game runs the exact same way. One thing I do want to note, because when we get to trips, the defense is going to end up playing stubby to the cover 4 side. But when you get 2x2, they are going to be running quarters rules and not palms rules. So we're going to be taking a look over here on this side, right? We're going to be sending number 2 out to show that the corner will not drive on the outbreaking route. So this is a great way. If you know your opponents are in cover 6, what's a great way to get quick completions against quarters? It's to run 2 out fast, right? Because of the leverage issues that we have here with the strong apex. Look how he's aligned inside of number 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and run that quick out route to show you that we are in fact getting quarters on the cover 4 side and not palms against 2x2. If we get trips, then you're going to go ahead and see stubby. But here, we're going to the cover 2 side once again. Over here, you see we're running the same exact thing we did in the last rep, but instead we're running into the cover 2 side. We have fade out. And you're going to see, right, corner, he's got his eyes inside on number 2. 2 is going out, and then he is going to, see, he's stopped running down the field with B here. He stopped running down the field with him, so he is now driving and picking this up. Now, I'm not entirely sure. I don't think they react very well here. I think they could react much faster, and I think that's part of the issue with match coverage right now in Madden and CFB is that they just don't react fast enough. They do the right thing a lot of the time, but they just don't react with the urgency that is needed to play the coverage effectively. But we go ahead and we get the drive down here, and he picks him up. And then, as we kind of expect with, ones and zeros here, the hook defender, he doesn't have a responsibility, so he kind of just drops into space. There wasn't really a route for him to pick up, but this is a common thing. And you're seeing it here too, right? We just kind of drop into space and just kind of sit here and become useless. It's a video game of ones and zeros, right? We'd like it to be better, but it's just not there yet. However, we're going to go ahead and just show you how this plays against Crash, right? So Crash, this is kind of a little bit of a funky smash type of concept here, right? So the general idea here with this in route, you're going to see the corner, he's going to start trailing it, but as soon as he sees two going out, they're going to do a little bit of a switch. Corner is going to take the out route, Apex is going to take the in route, and we're going to get a really, really nice switch here in the distribution. Now, this is great because Crash is something that fries man-to-man. I did a whole entire short talking about how I love throwing it in the red zone. And in real life, the Eagles love running Crash, even a little bit too much for their own good sometimes. But it's a great concept to beat man coverage, and it's really nice to see here that the game does a great job of actually taking care of it. So we snap the ball, you see they distribute it really, really well, right? Now you might be able to fit this throw in here if you got a rocket arm out here, but that's a tough throw to make. And I'm really, really impressed that the coverage actually handles it that well. Now, we're going to go ahead and kind of stress the coverage a little bit here with a little bit of short motion, right? So short motion, this is taking a receiver and motioning him inside while still staying on the same side of the ball. This is what I would call Zen motion, right? Because this receiver here, he is to the side of the tight end, right? The Y. So he is the Z. Z in motion. Quick terminology, just call it Zen, right? Now, the nice thing here is there actually is an option, right? And the pass coverage glossary talks about this, where if we get something like this, right, which is what we're running here, a shallow from number one, right, especially off of motion or into a condensed set, which is what you're going to see. We're going to motion into a condensed set, so he's going to snap the ball right about here, right? It's a bad leverage position for the corner to be in. And so there is an option to make what's called a push alert call, where the corner would call out to the apex saying, hey, you got to take this and I'll take number two instead. And we'll basically switch responsibilities. And this works pretty well in game. You see, we're going to snap the ball here. Now, at the snap, you can argue that now the tight end has technically become number one, and our Z here is technically number two. You can argue that, but they actually do a really good job here. You see, they're going to distribute this really, really well. You've already picked up. Corner is on the tight end, and the apex is now keying the Z. And they've got great leverage to handle both routes. I didn't have him running a shallow here. No, I just had him running a go. Yeah, but still, right? You can see as this kind of distributes down the field, we got Trayvon Diggs here on Dallas Goedert, right? So corner on the tight end. They do a good job handling and actually making that call. And then I think we go ahead and do it one more time. This is testing the push alert. And so here we're going to run Dotson underneath. And see, it's not perfect, right? Like many things in this game, it's really, really timing based, right? So we snap the ball here a little bit too early. And because of that, the corner still stayed on the wide receiver. But if you snap it a little bit later, like we did on the previous rep, and we're going to do it again here, I'm going to snap the ball a tad bit later, they get the switch down, right? So it's funky. It's in there, but it's funky, right? again, it's a ones and zeros problem. I think that EA probably could do a better job labeling areas of the field and maybe making things a little bit easier for themselves of like, oh, if number 2 enters the flat, right? If you code it the right way, they'd be able to respond to things a little bit better, but they haven't. That's a whole nother issue for people who know coding better than I do, but that's just what we're seeing here. And now this is the real reason why this call kind of exists, is for a condensed set, right? So we are tight split between tight end and wide receiver, and you can see by how the corner is aligned, right? Bad spot for him to be in, out leveraged, right? So we're going to go ahead and you're going to see this call go ahead and work beautifully. So with the motion was kind of 50-50. This time though, with the condensed set, they make that switch automatically. Now, we do have a bit of a problem because you can lay this ball, you can layer this thing right down the middle of the field and just have him bend this thing towards the goalpost and it's open, right? Especially because our hook defender here is taking number 3. This is a weakness of cover 2, right? Every coverage does have its weakness, and the weakness of cover 2 is down the middle. You would think of that more so on post routes, but this is a similar thing, right? Anything that can split the middle of the defense and get behind that middle deep dropper who is responsible for the back here, that's a weakness of cover 2, right? But the call is in here. So that's really, really cool and nice to see. Now, the biggest problem that I have seen when it comes to cover 2 match is sending 3 out to the flat. And the pass coverage glossary goes over this actually, showing that if 3 goes to the flat, and the example they have, I didn't put the graphic up here, but the example they had was, double slant, flat. And I know that we're doing this to the cover 2 side, or the cover 4 side, excuse me, but just humor me here. The general idea is that the corner would still drive on the flat from the running back, right? We would drive on the flat from the running back, the safety would pick the slant, and then we would get basically a double team between this guy and this guy, right? That doesn't happen in game. And again, it's really, really wonky. And sometimes it wants to work, sometimes it doesn't. But you're going to see here, right, we have 3 going out to the flat to the cover 2 side. What I would love to see is some kind of switch, right? Especially here because we're getting this cross concept here, right? Ideally, you'd want this backer to pick up the back and this backer to pick up the tight end with a switch. They're not going to do that, right? So we're going to snap the ball and they're just going to play it straight man-to-man, right? It's not the worst thing, but it's a lot of space right here. It's a lot of separation. So, not great, but we're working with what we can do with ones and zeros. I would love to see a switch here, because both of them, all this space, there's a lot of open space. A switch would take care of that. But we don't have that, at least not seemingly as standard. So that is one of the big issues with 2 match in the game right now, is sending 3 out to the flat. And I think I do a couple more reps here. I think I motioned the back over. Yeah, we motioned Barkley over to make sure he's actually on the cover 2 side. I was thinking maybe because he's on the corner side it didn't work. No. And this is where it's really, really bad. And this is where I would really expect a switch to happen. Because we're making the linebacker here, who was starting on the far hash, run all the way across the field to pick up a back who's starting here, going this way. It's a leverage race that you will never win unless it's like Matt Asiata at running back and, the greatest linebacker to ever play at linebacker. It's a battle you're not going to win. And the corner doesn't care. The corner does not care, right? Now, in the pass coverage glossary, yeah, it has him driving on the back out to the flat. However, with the way it's coded, I think he only cares about number 2. As soon as he sees that 2 is not out, he doesn't care. So, you know what? I'm fine with it. a switch here between the linebackers would just fix the problem entirely, though. So that's one of the biggest weaknesses with the coverage in game is just if you send 3 out to the flat, he's going to be stuck with a linebacker that he can out leverage really, really easily and win quickly. So we go ahead. We put him on the out route here because I'm just kind of testing things, seeing can I get a switch? Can I get anything? No. But we're going to see a little bit later, I think. I ran it out of trips that we actually do get a little bit of help here. Now, one thing that the pass coverage glossary talks about is how the definition of the flat and how deep down the field the corner can be to where he doesn't have to drive on an out route anymore. It's a bit up in the air, and we don't really have a solid definition for it. Some coaches say the flats are 5 yards. Some say it's 10, right? Sometimes it's week to week, depending on the passing attack of your opponent, right? Well, I went ahead and tested it. Went ahead and did a 5-yard out route. We did a 10-yard out route and then a 15-yard out route to see, where do they stop reacting. So this was 5. We get a bit of a slow reaction here, but we do pick it up. So 5 yards makes sense, right? That makes sense for flats. Go ahead, we're going to cut back, and we're going to do a 10-yard outbreaker. So we're going to go ahead, quick route adjust up, 10 yards, we pick it up. All right, so anything 10 and under, they're going to pick up, and they're going to drop this. So that's something for you to think about, especially if you're on offense, right? If you're able to run this guy off, there's some space here to throw this ball outside shoulder right to the pylon for an easy touchdown. But we go ahead, and on the next rep, we're going to go ahead and do 15 yards, and then you're going to see 15 yards, they don't care, right? 15 yards, that's too deep. Corner does not trigger on it, right? Which makes sense, right? I would not think that the corner should trigger on something 15 yards down the field. At this point, it's man-to-man with him and a linebacker. And there's space here for a throw. But again, we wouldn't really expect the corner to trigger on this so far down the field. So 10 yards and under is what constitutes the flats in the game. Now, we go ahead. We're going to show you. We go cover 6 here against trips, and we get our stubby check, right? So you already see we recognize stubby automatically, right? Because this corner is pressed up with the cover 4 shell on the back end here, right here, right? We watched the Palms video. We know what stubby looks like. I'm just showing you really quickly that we are, in fact, just getting stubby. We're going to send 3 out, and the apex picks him up and drives on him, right? So we're playing stubby, right? In Fangio language, which is what the Honest NFL page really majors in, they call this book, right? But it's the same check. Same exact thing. Book is stubby, right? Just different terminology, different language, but it's the same thing, right? Same thing if you get empty here, right? Which is what the diagram is showing. It's a little bit hard to see, a little bit small here, but we get empty. We're playing cover 2 to this side, and we're playing stubby, book, palms, whatever you want to call it, to the 3 receiver side, right? Very, very standard stuff here. But I believe the next clip that we have here is showing, we are getting some more funk here when it comes to sending 3 out, right? We get no cut from the corner, right? Cover 2 sides on this side now because we're running trips to the right side. So cover 2 here, and you see the linebacker is going to drive on this and react to it. Corner doesn't care, right? So there's no cut, right? That's the technique that the corner is going to be playing with. It's the same thing that the Nick Saban clip that went viral on TikTok, Reels, Shorts, all that stuff of him yelling at a player in practice. It's the same technique they're playing here. However, this is what I mean when it's a bit finicky, because now we're going to send the back out, and we get it. We actually do get the cut. So this sent me diving into a realm of trying to understand, okay, why? Why did the swing route not get a cut, but the out route did? And I thought that maybe I had found something. And that was in an Alabama playbook talking about the technique for cut. So the general idea is if the back, right, in trips, we're running trips and we're cut on the back side, right? If the back releases outside of the tackle, so in this space here, if he releases outside of the tackle, you're responsible for him as the corner to drive down on it and cut him. However, if he releases inside of the tackle, right here, then we're not going to cut. And I thought that, okay, maybe I'd solved this and figured out, oh, wow, they actually have that really, really detailed note in the game. But then I realized, when did we get the cut? We got the cut when we put Barkley on an out route going on a release inside the tackle, and we didn't get the cut when we put him on a swing route outside the tackle. So we got it backwards here a little bit, EA. I don't know if this is intentional or what, but we're really, really close to having a really, really in-depth note here and a tidbit. But yeah, not right. So I'm just going to chalk this up to it's a bit finicky. Now, if you go ahead and call cover 6 against bunch, right, you're going to get cover 4 to the bunch side, which will put you in box, right? We know what box is. First out goes to the apex, right? Second out, I'm writing all over red. Let's do this again. Second out goes to the corner. He is first in. Here the linebacker is, and then the safety is second in, right? And we're playing cover 2 still on the backside. Now, one thing here, and I noticed this, because I came out in a condensed bunch set with a nasty split on the backside, right? We don't end up pressing here, so we're out leverages the corner, and the post route that we're running here starts, it's not a post route like this, it is a post route that starts in and then breaks further down the field. With that kind of a release, the corner doesn't go with him, and instead it's the apex that's responsible for taking this route all the way down the field, which is a big mismatch. If you get a wide receiver matched up against the apex, which a nickel in this case is going to be a linebacker, right? So we're going to go ahead and show this real quick. I think we're just running spot on the front side. Yeah. So we're going to see, we know how this is going to look, right? Apex is going to drive on this. Corner is going to pick up the corner route going out, and the linebacker is going to sit on the spot route. But I really want you to watch the backside post route and see how this works, because the corner is going to take the back out, the backfield. See? He lets him go. No, he doesn't. See? I have another clip where he does the opposite. But he's poorly leveraged. He's poorly leveraged, so it's still a throw you can make, right? Even though we're not getting what I just described, it's still a leverage throw that you can make because he's so out of position. But right here, see? Look. Corner, he's now taking the running back. And now the apex is responsible for running with one of the best receivers in the NFL, A.J. Brown, down the field, which is just not a battle that you can win. But it's a little bit of an oddity here with how it's playing. And I guess it makes sense because the route is breaking inside. So there's no reason for the corner to try and chase this. He sees the inside release and he's going to say, okay, basically make a reverse push call, kind of like that push alert, right? With that inside crossing route from number 1, right? But because it's a post route down the field, we're actually able to get a really, really good leverage throw if we're on the offensive side. And see, one more time. See, this time we don't check to it and just look at all the space. Look at all the space, right? Safety's helping out on the corner route over here. So all we have to do is just lob this thing right out here, and we're going to have an easy touchdown, which is what I go ahead and do just to show you, right? Easy. Easy, easy, easy. Great way to take advantage of cover 6 out of bunch. But now we go ahead and run a normal post route. See, we didn't get the inside release here. We didn't get this, right? What did we get? We had this. The corner sticks with it because there's no inside release here to make him think, oh, I'm going to let it go. So just a little bit of a note for you and a way that we can attack it. Now, we're going to switch over to cover 9. And this is a coverage that actually gets run a lot. I don't see it run a lot in Madden. I think if people are going to run a split field coverage like this, they're going to run cover 6 instead. Because they're thinking, why would I run cover 2 to trips? Well, it's actually really, really nice. And this is something that Fangio runs a lot of, is he puts the cover 2 to the strength of the passing offense, and he runs quarters to the weakness. And what that allows him to do is poach the safety over, right? We talked about this, how in quarters against trips, backside safety doesn't have a responsibility. So he's going to go ahead and sit in the middle of the field and pick up number 3 going vertical, right? So we protect our linebacker, who may not have a good vertical matchup against number 3, by bringing the safety over, and we're essentially just man-to-man on the backside, right? The corner could have help, but as it says right here, right, don't rely on it, because you don't know, right? You don't have eyes in the back of your head. You don't know what the rest of the offense is doing, so you might have help, but you can't rely on it. You got to play like you're by yourself, right? We're going to get cover 2 here on the front side. And we're going to go ahead and get back to the field here. So you see here, we already recognize, right? We got the squat corner here. We're going to have cover 2 to the front side. And we're going to go ahead and, we're sending 2 out here just to show we're still getting cover 2. We get a drive on it. We see now that this is our quarters on a different day, so we had different corners out here. We get a really poor drive. So I think this may be a ratings thing that shows why the drive was so much slower this time as it was when I think it was Trayvon Diggs driving on the ball. So, really interesting there. But that's how cover 9 looks. Against doubles, it's going to look exactly the same. It's just simply that, say if we have tight end and a wide receiver, you're instead going to get cover 4 to that side, and the 2 wide receiver side will get cover 2. But it'll play exactly the same, right? The big note here is that you're going to get the poach safety going against trips, if you call cover 9. Now, against bunch, this is a coverage that was in the game last year, and I used it, right, when I played online, because everyone runs bunch. I ran cover 9 against bunch all the time, and they played it like this. This is called squat, right? So all that's going to happen is the corner is going to take the final number 1, right? So however the routes distribute, right? Say, we get spot, right? The corner will take the final number 1, who in this case will most likely be the corner route. The nickel will take whoever the final number 2 is, and the Mike will take whoever the final number 3 is. It's a great coverage. I shut down so many people running bunch last year by just running this. And you get a poaching safety over the middle of the field. So you're covered in case 3 goes vertical. It's a really, really great coverage. And because Madden players, right, they just look at the bunch. They don't care about the backside, right? So you can be one-on-one, man-to-man on the backside, and they won't throw it, right? Because a lot of Madden players aren't smart enough. They're not like us. That they don't know how to throw the backside dig when they're running bunch because they're so focused on their beater play, their one-play touchdown, right? However, this isn't in the game this year. And I was really, really disappointed to see that. So instead, what we're essentially going to get is just man-to-man coverage, right? The corner will be man-to-man on number 1 wherever he goes, right? The nickel will be man-to-man on number 2 wherever he goes, and the linebacker will be man-to-man on number 3 wherever he goes. Doesn't matter if we get this, it doesn't matter, right? We're just going to get straight man-to-man coverage, which is really, really disappointing because we actually had tools in previous games to run this cover, run squat, right? We had squat, we had lock and level, we had box put into the game, right? We were able to run traffic, right? If you watch Zando videos about it from a couple years ago, we could run traffic. We could do that up to last year. Can't do it now, right? So they've taken away some bunch tools for us. We're going to run spot here, and the way that squat would play this would have the linebacker just sitting here waiting for the spot route, but now we're all out of sorts, right? We're all out of sorts in picking this up correctly. So it's really, really disappointing that they took that out of the game because I would have really, really liked to keep that. It would be my main bunch defense. And I kept on doing it in CFB for a very, very long time. And I was like, this isn't playing the way I expected to. So here I am. I'm just calling plays. I'm just calling plays out of bunches to see how they distribute it. And you see, we're just getting straight man-to-man coverage, right? There's no switching. There's no distributing of the routes based on releases. It doesn't matter. They do not care, right? So we're just getting straight man-to-man coverage. Everyone is just sticking with their man, and we're not getting any leverage wins here. Nothing. So really, really disappointed to see that they took that out of the game. Now, again, I'm just showing here, we're running cover 9 again. They do have variants in this game where you have cover 9 show 2, which is what this is. So it's going to look like cover 2 on both sides of the field. And they also have cover 9 that will look like cover 2 on this side, but will actually have the corner backed off and looking like it's cover 4 on the other side. So this is just cover 9 show 2, right? It's a good way to disguise your coverage. But you're going to see 3 is going to go out here again, and we're not going to get a cut, right? So this is the exact same route concept as what's shown in the diagram of the pass coverage glossary, and it doesn't play the same, right? There's no cut, right? We're just playing man-to-man coverage again, essentially. So a bit disappointed that they don't have that cut route or that cut rule in the game for 3 going out, but what can you do? What we can do is go ahead and look at how to try and beat this. So one of the big ways that you can beat cover 2, specifically, we know how to beat cover 4, right? We have all kinds of ways to beat cover 4. But beating cover 2, a little bit different here, right? Great way to beat it is by vertically stretching the zone defenders, right? So look here, on the backside here, we have 2 in-breaking routes, 1 deep, 1 shallow. The goal here is to create a vertical stretch on the apex. We want to make him pick, right? He's either going to take this basic up the field and then open up the baby square in here, or he's going to stay low to take the square in, and we're going to have the basic open here a little bit deeper down the field. And it even says here, versus cover 2 backside, right? We're going to alert to that and then key the wall defender, which is just different terminology for the apex. We're going to key him, right? So that's what you're going to read. If you recognize cover 2 pre-snap, you're going to read the apex and just go wherever he's not, right? If he squeezes, hit the basic. If he carries, hit the square in. So we're going to go ahead and hot route to this real quickly here. Now, because they actually do a pretty good job of swapping off the shallow, right? You see right here, we get the switch, right? The corner, who is taking care of number 1, has now switched to take over on the basic. That window for the basic isn't really open, especially because the freaking tight ends in this game do that like jump step. They're trying to be like a basketball player and Euro step their way to running a dig route unless they have really good route running. It slows them down so much. So this basic route, if you have a tight end that doesn't have good route running, will never be open, unfortunately. However, what is open is a really nice quick game throw, because the wall defender, the apex, carried himself about 10 yards down the field, and this 5-yard square in is open right here. So quick 3-step drop, hit him in stride, you get 5 yards, right? Really, really quick and easy. I think I ran this 3 times. Every single time the square in was the throw, right? So unfortunately, we're just not able to quite get that basic to open up. We hit the square in again. This time, I decided I'm going to force the square in. I want to see if I can I'm going to force the basic, and I want to see if I can just get a completion here. But again, because they do the switch between the corner and the apex, they do a great job actually covering this, and he's able to make a play on the ball. So that's one way that you can go ahead and beat cover 2. Another way is by running a very similar concept. So in my vernacular, this would be China, right? I don't actually have the name. Oh, it's Buccaneer. That's the concept that they call this. I believe this is the Andy Reid system, right? So a very, very similar thing, right? We're trying to vertical stretch. This time we're going to be trying to vertical stretch the middle defender, right? Because remember, cover 3, or the cover 2 is going to be to the 3 receiver side, right? So we're going to try and vertical stretch him. Same exact thing, right? If he carries the basic, we have the square in. If he sits on the square in, we have the basic, right? So very, very similar thing here, and you've probably all seen this play, right? This is just what? Levels divide, levels sail, whatever it's called. Here it is. I made it in 5 seconds, right? So we're going to key this guy here in the progression, and you see, snap the ball, he's dropping, but he's so out leveraged, right? At the snap, he's so out leveraged because he has to get out, and he's responsible for 3, right? So he's responsible for 3 wherever 3 goes. He has to get himself out to worry about 3 going vertical. He's not prepared for a wide receiver to run a quick in cut on him. So he's out leveraged on the throw so much that we're able to get a good completion here. It's a good way to understand your personnel, especially because that's Bobby Wagner, who's, like 40 years old at this point. We didn't get this to actually size up correctly, but another way to create a vertical stretch. Same exact thing. It's dagger, right? We're going to run a receiver down the field to pick up the vertical hook defender, and then we're going to run a deep dig behind it, right? And I know this isn't really what we're talking about here, but I love this coaching point. This is a great coaching point, especially as someone who, I was a tight end in college. Before that, I was an offensive lineman. So I made the very, very rare switch of going from offensive line to tight end. So I had never run routes before in my entire life. But I had a really, really hard time of especially running corner routes. But being oh, you need to cut this off between 12 to 15 yards and then you cut to your corner. Well, here I am. I got a million other things to worry about. I'm trying to read, is it middle field open, middle field closed? Is there a squat corner or is he off? Do I need to run my corner more flat because the quarterback's leading the ball out towards me more or what? The last thing I wanted to think about was, oh, am I, cutting at 12? Am I at 15? Where am I on the field? Great coaching point. Cross 3 white lines. Simple, easy. Get you in the right spot 90% of the time, right? You cross 3 white lines, you're going to be running something between 15 and 19 yards every time. So easy. I wish I had that coaching point when I was still playing. Would have been great. But we're going to go ahead and get in here, show you dagger, right? So especially running this out of trips, this is great because we get cover 2. We're cover 2 on this side now. This hook route is going to occupy the hook defender. So he's going to sit on this man-to-man. We're running vertical, and we know that 2 going vertical will be taken man-to-man all the way by the apex. So now it's up to this outside leverage corner to handle this deep dig, which is going to be really, really hard for him to do. So we get a great vertical stretch and just a clear out. Not even a vertical stretch. We're just clearing out the apex defender. And it's going to open up this dig route for a nice chunk completion. Good catch. Right? And then all reliable. Right? If you know anything and you've been playing Madden or football, whatever, you've probably heard that smash beats cover 2. Why? Because we're stretching the corner vertically. He has to make a decision. Is he going to sit on the hitch or is he going to go back to cover the corner? Right? Now we talked about this in, cover 3 match and quarters, how we have the smash call, the smash rule that helps defend against this. Well, cover 2 doesn't really have that. So this is why smash is such a good concept to run against cover 2. There's a couple of different ways to run smash, right? This time we're not running hitch corner. We're running hitch with a slot fade. It creates the same exact problem, though, for the defense. So you see here, the corner is going to sit on the hitch. And the apex does a, frankly, terrible job of trying to cover the slot fade. And I'm throwing this ball immediately. I see this open. I'm throwing it immediately. Out to the sideline. Nice catch. Protect yourself. Get out of bounds. Easy, easy throw here. But you can run it also, right? We did hitch corner. Same thing. Key the corner. What does he do? If he sits, throw the corner. If he drops back, throw the hitch, which is exactly what happens. You have to wait for him to decide, right? That's the thing with quick game. Sometimes quick game, you think quick game and the ball's out immediately. You do have to wait for the defense to show their hand and decide on where they're going to go. All right. But he's made his decision. He's dropping back to cover the corner route. Therefore, the hitch is open for a quick, easy completion. That's going to do it for this episode of Chalk Talk. I do have a little bit of clips left, a bit of a blooper reel, honestly, because one of the big weaknesses of cover 2 is throwing the post route, right? Safety's dropping out here. You can run a post route, and if you can cross his face, you got all day. And I was trying for so long to get a clip of me just hitting a post across multiple days of me trying to record this, and I couldn't get it. I could not get it. And there were so many interceptions, incompletions, drops, right? Just things happening where I couldn't complete the post. So I figured it'd be a bit fun to just end it off with this as I kind of go through my spiel of just saying thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like the video, subscribe, use the new YouTube hype feature. Do all those things. We're going to be coming back with a lot more Chalk Talks since we have fallen so behind because my computer was out for a month. So, and I kind of stopped playing CFB 26. I was getting really frustrated with how my sliders were playing. I haven't played the Rice Dynasty in a month. So I'm going to be focusing on Chalk Talks for right now, but I know that I have Dynasty and franchise fans. I do plan on a franchise mode in Madden. I don't know when I'm going to start it yet. I'm going to start it probably as the season comes to a close and pick up at the end of the season and move on into the future. I really like doing that in Madden. But that's my plan for right now, is to do something along the lines of that. Because I do know that there are franchise fans here who love the Rice Dynasty. I would still be doing it if we didn't fall so far behind, right? We're in almost November, and I am still in Season 2. It's just fallen so far behind because my computer just bricked itself, and I needed to get a new GPU, and it was gone for a month. So, unfortunately, out of circumstances I can't control, the Rice Dynasty probably isn't coming back, but we're going to be focusing on Chalk Talks. I'm going to be trying to get one out once a week. Right now, I did get a new job with normal working hours. I'm not working a service job anymore. I have an actual job now and what I actually studied in school, which is great, but it does limit my time to create videos like this. So my goal right now is one in-depth Chalk Talk video a week, hopefully a little bit more detail, more graphics, more stuff like this as we move on through football season. And then once the season comes to a close or we get to a sufficient point where I think it's a good time to start this franchise mode, I will go ahead and do that. So that's kind of just the general plan for the next couple weeks, months on the channel. But I'm really, really happy to just be back, able to actually make content again, because that 1 month where I didn't have my computer, it's just I have a list of videos of things that I've seen that I want to make videos on. So we're going to be focusing on doing that. But I really, really appreciate you guys sticking around watching this. You guys love these long videos. We are 48 minutes in, so you're going to get your money's worth here. So I definitely appreciate you watching. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.